My name is Joe Bulow, and it's now 10 o'clock, and all of you are filing into the webinar meeting room, our e-room. There's going to be about 150 of us here participating in this webinar today. And just some background at the spring conference in San Diego, at the program managers meeting, a bunch of people indicated that we needed some extra training on wide area workflow and what's currently called iRAPT. And I held up my hand and said I'd been to a refresher training course back in December, so I probably had access to some of the latest and greatest information about it. So I said that I'd do this, and so that's what we're doing. I'm going to have some administrative remarks, and then we'll get into the subject matter as everybody is coming in, taking their seats. Questions and answers are encouraged as we go along. Unlike some webinars that I've participated in, you're all muted. The only one that's talking is me. Okay, so if you have a question, here's how you're gonna ask it. You are going to, and this is what your little control panel doohickey looks like. You see it's being recorded. Right in here is a question and answer box. If you have a question, just type it in there. And then what I do is I've got that box over here. I've got another screen over on the side, and I keep an eye on it. And anytime there's a question, what I'll do is I will either read it out loud or clear it, or if it's a comment, if it's a question, I'll read it out loud so everybody has access to it. And then I'll provide whatever is appropriate, whether it's an answer or, hold off for a few minutes until we get to that point, or whatever it is that we need to do. That way, everybody can hear me. Everybody can hear the question. Everybody can hear the answer. So that's how we're going to handle that. Let me turn on my highlighter here. Okay, here's how we're going to, the handout. Both yesterday and today, I sent everybody a reminder and connection instructions on the handout. Here's what I want to show everybody the handout materials. First of all, everybody got the feedback sheet. Take a few minutes at the end of today's class, fill out the feedback sheet. Tell me what you expected, what you got out of it, value, and what you need, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Let me erase all the drawings. Okay. So tell me that. The booklet I sent everybody is broken. Actually, it's like 167. It's a 167-page PDF file. It's broken down into 3 parts. The first 2 pages are kind of like a cheat sheet that I came across that somebody had developed. Somebody had developed, and it in like 23 easy steps, it'll help you through submitting an invoice. Okay. The next 50 pages or so are screenshots of all the type of information and where to enter it into the wide area workflow or the iRAPT system. This one could be particularly handy if you're dealing with a company or a client or just teaching a class. I didn't include it in the actual presentation because it's just showing you one screenshot after another. But it's kind of walking you down through the process, and it could be one that if you took this and you you printed it or you had it side by side, it would answer a lot of questions for you as you're going through. The last portion of it, of this of the booklet I sent you, is a document that goes through all the changes, all the new things in the wide area workflow system, or the iRAPT system. It tells you what the topic is, how it got changed. The ECP is engineering change proposals. So if you're having trouble with batch processing for miscellaneous pay, you could find it in the table of contents. Click on the page and it'll take you right to it in the PDF file. So it should be a fairly handy reference guide for you. So that's what's in the booklet. Also, everybody got the full functioning PowerPoint presentation that has the capability for you to use this information. You can project it. You can tailor it specifically if you're going to use any of this information, because 99% of the people that are attending this are colleagues in other APTAC or other PTAC centers. Use it as you see fit. Use it to train, use it to educate, use it to support your clientele. It's not password protected, so if you use it, make sure that you label it accordingly. You change the, if any kind of branding, you use your PTAC or your specific branding, and that type of thing. So by all means, use it as you need to use it. Also, I'm actually going to try to do this both as a train the trainer for my colleagues in the APTAC, but I'm also going to include a lot of stuff that we talk about with clients of ours that are attending classes. So, so one of the links here on slide number 2 in your handout is a client application for vendors that attend training classes. If they want to become a client of our center, we give them this this hyperlink. Let me back up. They can click on this hyperlink, and we have our client application. We're a Neosera user, so it's built right into our website. I'd encourage you to do the same thing if you're using Neosera. Oops. We've allocated 2 hours for this. I'm going to take a break at about the halfway point. This webinar is being recorded, and once we're done, I have to convert that into a format that you can, virtually every computer platform is able to view. You'll see the full text, the full audio, everything else, so that you can download it from the cloud to your computing device. You can watch it as many times as you want. If you want to share it with some of your other colleagues that are not able to attend or get called away, by all means you can do that. But I want to give you a word of warning. When I record it, I upload it to the cloud, because this webinar will be about the size of a movie. It'll be about a gig of computer file. It doesn't stay up there forever. It stays up there for 2 weeks. So if you need to download it to your computer within a 2-week period. Otherwise, at that point it'll disappear. I got some bonuses I'm going to tell you about, and finally, let's begin. So if anybody has any questions, make sure you use your little your GoToWebinar control panel or dashboard to type out a question, and away we go. Here's our agenda. We're going to spend. I'm going to walk you through the production website for wide area workflow. That's the first link here on this. We're going to talk about some electronic commerce tools overview, wide area workflow, and we're going to show the e-business suite as a vendor. We're going to talk about some of the legacy payment systems. We're going to show you where you can get wide area workflow help. And then finally, the last thing on the agenda, so I'm going to show you where there's training opportunities and electronic toolbox for iRAPT. One of the things you may have already noticed is that of all the training classes that we teach, this one has got more acronyms, more websites, more warning screens, more security screens, more pop-up screens than anyone I've ever seen. So make sure you strap in real tight and pull your chin strap tight on your helmet, because you're going to have to really dig into this material. Here's the business suite for vendors. These are the things that the vendors will be using when they have a need to invoice the military. The iRAPT, and again, just as a side note, you're going to hear wide area workflow, or WAWF, and iRAPT over and over again. It's kind of migrating so that iRAPT is what it's currently being called. It's almost replaced the term wide area workflow, or WAWF, but there's still talk about it. So if you hear wide area workflow, it means the same as iRAPT. iRAPT means the same as wide area workflow. So anyway, iRAPT that's an acronym, stands for Invoicing, Receipt, Acceptance, Property Transfer. So it's kind of a more descriptive term than wide area workflow. Wide area workflow really didn't describe what they were trying to accomplish. Another one is electronic document access. That's what that EDA thing stands for. And then the invoice is very self-explanatory. And the IUID is the Item Unique Identification Registry. That's the barcoding stuff that'll, if you're in the manufacturing arena, you're going to be challenged with doing, marking products or commodities appropriately. Okay, let's take a real quick tour of the production website. The latest and greatest version is 5.10.0.1. And like I said before, expect to see tons of security warnings, pop-ups, and these are roadblocks that a lot of people that are not as comfortable working with a computer or working with an electronic commerce system are going to be intimidated by this kind of stuff. So don't be intimidated. Let's take a look at it. Okay, here's the first one, a security warning. Okay, you're going to see a bunch of these. So I read it, and then I decide yes, and then there's revocation information. So I click yes. Then there's another security warning, so I click yes. Then it actually takes me to the website, and I get more. I get a privacy statement and a warning. This is one where I want to point out a couple of things. This talks about it's a U.S. government information system. You're responsible. Take a look at this. Personal representative or services by attorneys, psychotherapists, or clergy and their assistants. Such communication work products are private and confidential. In the warning section, it talks about do not use the browser back button when you're doing anything with the wide area workflow or iRAPT system. So I want to make sure that you understand that. When you actually get into the system and you're entering data, keep that in mind. Do not use the back button. There'll be other places where you can back up if that's appropriate. Usually it's down at the bottom of the screen, where you can go forward or backward, but don't use this little back button up here on your browser. It's also for official use only. And then when you're done with that, and you're ready to move ahead, you click on the accept button. Okay, this is what the new wide area workflow website looks like. Not very impressive. Over here on this side is information about if you're a government user and you've got a CAC card, you can log in. Your vendors will be using this portion over here, user ID login, password login. There's a place where if there's any system messages, they'll be posted here. When they're first beginning, they'll have to register. They'll go up there. Down here on the bottom, these are all the new suites of things that they're using. Again, these are the ones that we're going to be using most of all as vendors. These are things that are being set up and created for the government people. There's even stuff like MIPR, and if you just hover, your mouse or your pointer over the thing, it'll tell you what each one of these things is for. There's even an app. I noticed this the other day. They've created an external link, an app. To see that if it worked, I downloaded it to my iPhone or to my smartphone device, and the app actually works. It actually looks very much like this. There's quick links on the bottom. Now, one of the things I want to show you is up here at the top, help and training. This one, you could spend a lot of time just each one of these links here. This is where it goes into great detail on setting up your machine, making sure you got the right kind of operating system. And if one of your clients is using a 20-year-old computer desktop that's running, Windows 95, they're going to have trouble if they're trying to process a wide area workflow or an iRAPT invoice. Talks about there's even a way where you might be able to download DoD certificates so that you don't get all those pop-up warnings like I showed you earlier. It talks about Java runtime. You got to have that if you're a certificate user. Browser setup, all kinds of stuff. You can see that if you're a neophyte or if you're uncomfortable in working with a computer system, as we've seen time and time again with some of our clients and some of the people we're trying to train with difficulties they have with things like SAM and other things. This one is kind of like at the top of the heap. This is high level. You got to have high level familiarity with using a computer system. Talks about plugins you got to have. You got to have Acrobat, Reader, all these things. You could spend 2 hours just training people on this one part of machine setup. And then underneath it, here's vendors getting started. This one is really a good one to make sure you're familiar with, because it tells people, that are uncomfortable, step by step, how to get ready, how to register, how to establish or verify, have your cage code. It's all the kinds of stuff that we talk about. So you could spend another 3 hours just talking about that. Then there's government support, contractor support, training available. This one kind of talks about all those buttons I showed you. On this one right here, on the bottom part, this one trains government people on all that stuff. Here's a web-based training link. This is one where you can actually do training in areas, practice, and I'll show you more of that a little bit later. System information help. This is lookup tables, some things that they didn't have before in the wide area workflow system. Now they've made significant changes and improvements to it. And then contracting officers, technical representative, that's what CORT stands for, tools and documents that are available for them. So the help section of the production website is extremely detailed and very well thought of. Just real quick look at the, if I click on the register, you can see there's another warning screen. You got to hit agree, and then what it's going to do, it's going to walk you right through. And this is very similar to SAM and all the other websites. I also want to point out a couple of things. Depending on the browser you're using, you can see up here, like on the one I'm using, I'm actually using Google Chrome. It's not secure. You know, you get these red marks through, meaning it's you know, not secure, and then the website. So it's a lot of things have changed and been updated, and it's significantly better than it used to be. Okay. Slide number 6 is this is kind of an overview of the electronic commerce tools. This information kind of helps people, business owners, financial people understand the relationship between things like SAM, the iRAPT system, wide area workflow system. So you can either just read that or explain it to them. If in your notes, the notes section of the PowerPoint, there's a detailed description of what each individual step is. We'll go into a little bit more detail on one that I think is a little bit better way to help them understand. So this one talks about the flow of information, and you can see it all starts with SAM right up here at the top. Okay, if you look through some of the reference material, I came across a whole bunch of references to CCR. So even in the stuff that's been updated umpteen times, they still haven't changed over all the references to CCR. So it's still out there. Okay, here's the one that's of interest to your clients. This is a screenshot of the production website where it had some system messages. And you can see this is an older one. This is actually version 5.6.0. There's a lot more buttons down here in the bottom, but this is the one where their journey begins. This is kind of like the single face to both industry, vendors, contractors, and the government to access a number of business applications and capability. And prior to this, a lot of this stuff was managed independently. There were multiple systems, but now it's all kind of coming under one roof or one umbrella. Philosophically, it's the same approach as they're doing with SAM. This talks about how it's an automatic system, automatic access to EDA, which is electronic document access, and the invoice modules. And there's also a registry for IUID, the barcoding type thing that that is available on that website. Here's an overview of the iRAPT module. iRAPT is the old wide area workflow. Okay, wide area workflow again was a very non-descriptive term, didn't really describe what it was supposed to do. So they changed it to iRAPT. And again, that's a secure web-based system utilized for creating, approving, accepting, certifying, and viewing electronic transactions associated with requests for payments and shipping notices. It's the electronic invoicing system that the Department of Defense is migrating towards. Okay. iRAPT also has a property transfer functionality. It supports DoD's goal of moving to a paperless acquisition process, and it's been clauses in the DFARS have been instituted or have been incorporated so that it's going to happen. Slide number 10 talks about some of the benefits of implementing the iRAPT system, both for the government and for the vendor. There's a significant reduction in paper-based stuff, eliminating manual entry. In fact, this is where most of the errors in the past used to take place. When you had a paper-based system, if data entry had to take place, you know, there were mistakes like L's instead of ones, ones instead of L's, zeros instead of the letter O. It reduces mail, file, copy support functions dramatically. A few years ago, I attended a training session at the DFAS Center in Columbus, Ohio, and I was absolutely amazed at the volume of paper stuff that was flying around that 5-story building. Millions of documents. How anything ever got to the right place, I have no idea. It was amazing to watch. But as less and less paper is used, less and less chance for things to slow down. There's global accessibility. Eliminates lost or misplaced documents. Accuracy will be significantly improved, and there's transactions are secure and they're auditable. PKI stands for public key. Public key infrastructure, which is basically an electronic signature. So its system will enable that. It also captures data for UID, that's the barcoding stuff, and RFID data. And it also has the capability to better support the government's tracking of equipment, both government furnished property and government furnished equipment, GFE. Okay, why are these things being used for electronic invoicing? Okay, I mentioned this earlier. It's the law. There was a public law was passed that was a part of the National Defense Authorization Act, and it's now being enforced. The DFAS has been updated to include requirements for electronic invoicing for a long time. It's now all catching up. There's also clauses in the DFARS that talks about it, requires electronic invoicing, requires electronic supporting documentation. So it's happening. If it's in the solicitation that your vendors or your clients are submitting a bid on, they need to familiarize themselves with the invoicing system, whether they use electronic or an older type system. They need to make sure that they have a plan in place on how to implement that. So they can do a real quick search in the either synopsis or the solicitation and make sure that that if it does contain the acronym Wide Area Workflow or iRAPT or any of those other terms that we've talked about, and those other acronyms we've talked about, that they're ready to implement it should they be awarded that contract. And this hyperlink on the bottom of slide 11, if you need to educate your clients on these FAR and DFARS references, they can click on that. It'll take them right to the DFARS section where they can look it up, download the appropriate section, read up on it. So that's a handy reference. At a glance, these are some of the roles that you're going to see played out in some of the line diagrams we're going to show you in a little bit. The vendor, that's what they call them. It's a contractor, the supplier. You got the acceptor or the acceptor, inspector, a cost voucher reviewer, approver. These are either DCAA or DCMA. Grant approver. This even supports grants. So all of us PTACs will be involved with these at some point in time. You got the LPO, Local Processing Office. These are where the documents must be certified. You got payment officials. These are all DFAS people. You got group administrator, and you got a view-only function. The view-only function is something that helps with transparency and auditability. It's like anybody in this system, including management, senior management people, can look down on the relationship and how things are being processed. They can look down to make sure things are functioning correctly. It's almost like the Greek gods on the top of Mount Olympus can have a God's eye view of what's going on with all the minions below, the vendors, the acceptor, the inspectors, the payment officials, that type of thing. So the view only function comes in real handy for supervisors and administrators at the DCMA level, at the DCAA level, DFAS, your level, contracting officer, the end user, all that type of stuff. Everybody can keep an eye on what's going on. Here's a tool overview that can be used for educational purposes. It shows you how, the vendor, they register in SAM, they go out and win a government contract. They have to submit some sort of an invoice. Mods and vouchers are posted in the EDA system. The vendor enters the invoice data into this electronic system. The government performs acceptance and testing. The government decides, okay, that's good. We're gonna pay them, and payment is actually received at the vendor level with a Bank of America logo up here at the top. Very simplified, very, in fact, I think it's overly simplified. The one that I think is much better at describing it is coming up. Users can be vendors, government officials. Documents included can be contracts, invoices, receiving reports, and the documents are used to generate payments for goods and services. So these are the things that the wide area workflow iRAPT system is going to be used for. Okay, I added this. This is a bonus. FUA are frequently used acronyms. See, I even made up my own acronym for frequently used acronyms. Slide 15 are ones that you're going to be bumping into as you're going through the teaching a class or helping your clients understand the system of iRAPT. And you can see that, for example, BPN is one you'll see over again, Business Partner Network, Cage Code, DAS, DODAC, that's one that a lot of people get, they see that term and they don't have any idea what it is. It's 6-digit code that identifies Department of Defense activities. That's what DODAC stands for, Department of Defense Activity Address Code. EDA, EDI, EFT, iRAPT, invoicing, receipt, acceptance, property transfer, and so on down the line. So these are very commonly, frequently used acronyms. Okay, here's the line diagram, or the flow chart, if you will, that I think most accurately describes how it works. Okay. Number one, the vendor creates and submits invoices or receiving reports. There's 4 ways to input it. You can do it through the internet, the web-based one. There's a secure file transfer protocol. There's through electronic data interchange. I don't know of anybody that uses that. There's even that app that you can put on your mobile device. You know, so if your vendor is one of those companies that has that like a manufacturer that makes all kinds of stuff and sells it to the government or the military, their accounting people may actually need access to that mobile device. They didn't used to have it. This is now a new capability. So make sure that your vendors know that, especially if they're the kind that has hundreds of invoices they're inputting. The government inspectors, in some cases, actually when you input that, they will get an email notification if it's a commodity. If it's not a commodity, if it's like a service type contract, and there's a different type of invoice you submit for service, you'll have a government acceptor. This is the person who will actually, and they'll get an email as well. They either accept or reject. Then it goes to a local processing office. These are the LPO acronym. These are the payment people that receive email notifications awaiting actions. They accept or reject, that type of thing. Then it goes to the DFAS payment office. These are the people that work at the DFAS centers, and there's like 4 or 5 of them. They receive email notification of waiting action, researches any suspended transactions or rejects or that kind of stuff, and then it goes into one of many different payment systems. And I have a chart a little bit later on showing you the different type payment systems we have. This is where the payment system, entitlement system, processes and authorizes transfer of fund, and then it goes into the bank and ultimately back to the vendor. So it's all done electronically, back and forth, emails, and I'll show you what those things look like a little bit later. They're very cryptic, but it's all done electronically. No paper involved, and there's that God's eye view capability that I talked about a little earlier, where there's a view only thing. Even the vendor, even here, they can make sure that the government acceptor is doing their job and allowing things to get paid. It allows for significantly improved taking advantage of like discounts, decreasing interest payments, making sure that vendors are paid in the terms like net 30 or net 20 or net 10, whereas before, when it was all paper-based, one of the chief complaints was vendors would say it'd take forever to get paid by the government. So it's now getting better and better as more and more things are done electronically. You may recognize this from training that we did or training that we received probably 10 or 12 years ago. This was a very simplified flow chart similar to this, but too simple in my view. And this is the 2 different types of invoicing. This is called a combo and this is used for commodity type stuff. So these are parts. This is where an inspector would be involved. You manufacture, you the vendor make parts, you send them to you deliver them, a quality assurance type inspector looks at them, that generates an email, he or she inspects them, and then these other things take a combination. There's a two-path approach to keeping track of invoicing and the receiving reports, and they move as two separate documents. This is the 2-in-1, is where those two different paths are combined into one, hence the name 2-in-1, and these are used for service contracts. This is where an inspector normally is not involved, so that's optional, and it moves as one document through the iRAPT system. The electronic document access portion has access to all these different documents. There's a long list of them that your vendors may need to know, and it also includes the reference where these things are called out for, whether it's a progress payment, performance-based payment, construction payment, whatever type of document it is. This is provided as, these are available through the EDA module. And there's other document types. Some of these may even apply to, these apply to your vendors, could also apply to us. Grants, cooperative agreements, the standard Form 270s are in that EDA module. Okay, I got a question from Anna. Anna asks, how do you know which invoice document you need to submit? Does the CO tell you? Okay, that is probably going to be in the contract, Anna, but if it's a commodity, it's going to be a combo. If it's a service contract, it's going to be a 2-in-1. If it's a combination of the two, where there's a service to be performed and a commodity, that's a question you do need to clarify with the contracting officer and or the contracting officer's staff. And just as a kind of experience on my own, a few years ago when I was helping a vendor with actually processing electronic invoicing, when they asked questions like that of the contracting officer or their staff, we knew more about it than they did. So don't be surprised if you're helping somebody and your counsel to them is to get clarification from the contracting officer's staff. Don't be surprised if you know more about it than they do. So you may have to help educate them at the same time. Let's see, I got another question from Christina. Is the iRAPT login information going to be the same as the SAM login? From experience with DoD, I would assume it would be different. They're going to be, I think it's different. It's probably going to ask you for some SAM type information, like your cage code, your DUNS number, but it's probably going to be like a different password. I don't know specifically because I haven't helped anybody with this new system, with the the version that they're on right now, but don't be surprised if it isn't different. I would expect at some point in the future that they might be one and the same, but don't count on it. Okay. Let's see. Dave Pease, our colleague, just made a comment, said he just helped create an iRAPT registration yesterday, and login and that kind of stuff is different. So thank you, Dave, for providing additional information. So it's different. It's not the same as, it won't be the same login information as SAM. They're connected, but they're not connected that closely yet. Okay. Let's get back to the presentation. Slide 21 shows you a screenshot of a standard form 1449 that has all kinds of information filled in and things circled. These are like the contract number. These are those DODACs that confuse everybody all the time. 6-digit, 6-character. It's a 6-character identification code. And all of these things have to be entered into your invoice. So here's my suggestion. Get all these paper documents that you may have on, collect them all, and when the vendor is actually creating the invoice, make sure that you read carefully and you put in the, issued by DODAC, admin DODAC, all those things. And a little bit later on, I'm going to show you there's a, actually I included it on this slide. Right up here at the top, this is a hyperlink to a place where you can look up all the different DODACs. So if you have no idea what these things mean, see on this form, it kind of tells you where they are. You can look them up right here. Let's see, Larry asks a question. This is the FAR clause used in DoD contracts, which details wide area workflow instructions and most always includes identification of the type of invoice. I do a lot of these. So the DoD contracts, the type of, it will be identified by the in the type of invoice, whether it's a combo or a 2-in-1. Let me show you real quick what this looks like. Remember, anything having to do with wide area workflow and any of this stuff is probably going to have a bunch of security warnings, pop-up screens, that kind of stuff. So let's take a look at it and see what pops up. I think this popped up fairly straightforward because I've already been to this website. But I click on DODAC and you can see here, oh nope, here's a verification test. This is one of those things to make sure that it's not a robot or a bot doing these things. And you get this warning screen. Yeah, I accept. Here's another warning, making sure that you're not doing this for any illegal type things. And then I'm going to click on DODAC again. I get this warning screen. Now, here's a screen. I finally drilled down far enough. I can put in a DODAC. Like in this case, I'll put something from that standard form 1449. I'll put an N00244, which is a Navy DODAC. Let's see what happens when I hit the submit button. You can see it's cranking. It's looking. And this is a Department of the Navy, the Naval Supply Center. Tells you where they are. They're in San Diego, Cummings Road, not too far from where we had the conference. There's another portion of it, Navy ERP Enterprise Program in Arlington, Virginia. So these are all things that actually where we had the conference in San Diego. the Naval Supply facility was just up the road from the hotel, not too far from the Midway. So these are all things that your clients may need to know, that kind of stuff, but it helps them assemble all the pieces together. Okay, slide 22. One of the things I mentioned was once the invoice gets to the point where everything lines up, all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, it gets forwarded to the DFAS people. These are the different legacy payment systems that are still in play. And you can see the Army has theirs, DLA has one, the Air Force has one, the Navy has one. So they're, even adding more acronyms, and so many acronyms now, it's like a can of alphabet soup. But these are things that some of you are either very familiar with or not familiar with at all. MOCAS is one. DCMA uses that. All the military services use that, and so on down the line. So these are all the things these are the legacy payment systems that will actually make the payments. I mentioned earlier that of the 5 DFAS payment offices, this is the one that shows what systems they're using, the pay office, their DODAC, the payment system they're using, whether it's MOCAS or CAPS or OnePay or IAPS. You can see there's Columbus, Cleveland, Indianapolis, Rome, and Limestone. Okay, so that information is maybe important at some point in time as well. Here's the iRAPT's government role functionality. Lots of information on this slide. The government has the ability to electronically reject documents that are improper, capability to electronically accept and inspect and accept. The government official can perform many processes, including all of these, and the system-generated email notifications can be flying all over the place, back and forth, can assist all parties in monitoring the process and initiating corrective or follow-up actions. Okay, we're now almost an hour into the presentation. I told you I'd take a break at about the halfway point. So we're about midway through the presentation. So let's take a 10-minute break starting right now. Okay, 10-minute break is up. Let's all get back to it. The next couple of slides talk about iRAPT status things and what it means, and is put in there for informational type reasons. For example, slide 25, if the iRAPT status is accepted, the certifiers folder, if in the workflow or in the is in the payment office. Approved means it's or in the payment office. These are all the types of things, the location and the comment, what it means. These are all listed in alphabetical order. Alphabetically should help you determine and counsel your clients on what it means. So alphabetically, so on down the line, depending on where it is. So that's self-explanatory. You see some things that you don't want to see, like void, processed, extracted, that type of thing. I mentioned earlier about emails. The the iRAPT system is rich with electronic emails back and forth between the vendor, the acceptor, between the vendor, the payment office, the LPO, DFAS, all the things go back and forth. So it uses a unique email system to notify the various users within the system, and it has an address book. Okay, so these are things where users have the ability to send notification to additional email addressees along the way. So as you put things in there, if you add into it, you can add it to your address book, and they're saved for future use. They're saved for future use after submittal. This is what one of these email notification messages looks like. You can see it's very cryptic. In fact, if you didn't expect something like this, you might mistake this for spam, for some sort of a unwanted type thing. But this is what a sample email notification looks like. You can see status is submitted. First of all, look at this is like all the payment type information. If you broke the code on this, these are DODAX, status, processed, contract number. You see that contract number is the same as it is up there. Cage code, which ties back into SAM. Invoice number, submitted by. So these are all things that are very important to the people that are involved. So make sure your vendors, make sure your clients, a couple of things, make sure they expect these things. Another thing to make sure that is that they do things like whitelist who these emails are going to be coming from. You can see this is from dissa.mil. So it'd be a good thing to make sure that their email system always accepts emails and messages from people at like DISA, DCMA, DLA, that type of thing. Otherwise, they will miss critical information. And then the last note on the bottom, this is a system-generated email message. Please do not respond to this email. And by all means, if you're looking at this on a browser, do not use the back button. Slide number 30 talks about the help. And we've already looked at this, but there's a significant amount of help available, help and training using the production email system or the production website. I just wanted to point that out again. Again, drilling down, if there's somebody out there that just can't figure out the system, have them go to the help section, vendors getting started, click on that, drill down, and there's 10 steps on how to follow utilizing this system. The web-based training, I showed that when we took the walking tour of the website. The web-based training is available on the iRAPT, on the EDA, the Electronic Document Access, the UID one, and remember these are like for the government type ones. Actually, the invoice one is for the vendors as well. But this one is the MIPR, and this one is for the contracting officer's technical representative. Finally, when it comes to help, there is a help desk, okay? And the feedback I've gotten is they are helpful, okay? 3 ways to get in touch with them. First way is you can click on this hyperlink on the top of slide number 33, and there's various ways to contact the help desk. As you look down through this list, you're going to see Ogden, that's Ogden, Utah, listed multiple times. All the help is not always in Ogden. Sometimes it's in Cleveland, sometimes it's somewhere else, but Ogden seems to have, Ogden, Utah, that's one of the 2 facilities, seems to have the most accessible technical help. There's their help desk, there's their email, there's phone numbers there, which you'll see the same email there and their 800 phone number. So if all else fails, you've tried everything, their help desk actually does work. Training opportunities. Again, for those people that need web-based training, this is a good place to learn about wide area workflow as well. Let's take a look at this real quickly. This is, you can see it's like a chalkboard in the background. Wide area workflow, online training courses, billing, invoice information, invoice processing, online training courses, some other ones that may not apply, okay? But this is, utilize these to their full advantage. And then the second bullet here, there's vendor classroom and practice training websites. So if you're in the Columbus, Ohio area, if you look at this, they're all done in the Columbus, Ohio area, which is where DFAS is, their main, one of their big things, big offices. You can, another warning screen, you can sign up for online customer service and online training. I mean, you know, they're physically in Columbus. Okay, slide 35 is kind of a summary of all the websites. This is the production website, DFAS, and in the last couple of days, I checked all these websites. They should all be working. If you stumble across, as you're looking at this information, doing the same thing, if you see any websites that are not working, or you get the warning saying it's you know, it's been moved somewhere else, let me know so I can update my information. There's another DFAS customer service 800 number, and UID, the barcoding, the two-dimensional barcode right there, and the information on the UID, the last website here on the bottom, slide 35. Let's see if it will open. There's information about the UID. Okay, now I got some extra bonuses for you, and here's bonus number 2. First bonus number 1 was the sheet on the frequently used acronyms, the FUA. Here's bonus number 2. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this. This was brought to our attention probably a couple, 2-3 years ago. But the federal government has a website, and this is kind of off the subject of invoicing, but I think it's interesting information that I don't think too many of our colleagues in the AppTac world are aware of. The federal government has a website that challenges businesses to come up with solutions to government problems. And there's prize money involved. So at challenge.gov, there's currently 767 competitions taking place. 767. And there are things like the USDA has school meal programs. They're looking for great ideas for increasing verification response rates. Here's one. Whoever these people are, $100,000 in prizes for leveraging mini retinas for big breakthrough in eye disease. Let me erase the drawings and go back to my normal. Here's one. Patient matching algorithm, Department of Health and Human Services. 75,000 in prizes. You can even search these. You can sort these by agency. So let's real quick just look at DOD. Let's hit the submit button. Oh, agency search. Let's try if I do defense. Department of Defense, military programs. Let's hit the submit button again. Well, of course. But anyway, they're in there somewhere. But these are things that, as far as I know, are not advertised in places like, it's not advertised in Fed BizOps. These things are not receiving wide dissemination. But these are certainly things that our clients may have solutions to these type of problems. So that's bonus number 2. And then surprise number 1 is what I think is a real key to doing business with the military. The DOD is big on these 2-page cheat sheets, I call them, like this one right here. Are you government ready? Are you government ready to do business with the military? Do you know your service codes? Do you know your NAICS codes? Do you know your size? Are you a small business, large business? Do you know do you have a DUNS number? Are you registered in SAM? Talking about the SBA's Dynamic Small Business Search, DoD opportunities, wide area workflow, iRAPT. Here's other resources available, the SBA, Small Business Development Center, US, the PTAX, Service Corps of Retired Executives, Small Business Program Offices. Do you know about your competitors? Are you targeting the right people? Tools, the FAR, the DFARs, Fed BizOps, in-person type things like trade shows, that kind of stuff, email marketing. You doing any of that? This is the kind of stuff that this one PDF file, you could develop a training curriculum around this that could, a 3-hour class, could be a 3-day class, and it's available on that website. Now, the handout or the PowerPoint presentation I sent everybody this morning has this information in there. So if you want to, you can download this and use it to help train your clients. Okay, that concludes my prepared remarks. I'm now opening it up to questions to anybody, from anybody. And while you're all madly typing your questions, I'm just going to keep talking. One of the things I want to remind you about is once we're done today, send me your feedback. This is kind of like, this isn't a train-the-trainer type thing. This is a, we do this for all the classes we teach. And I tell everybody that the classes when they attend the class, we read every one of them. We incorporate, people, point out things that are missing. We try to improve it the next time we teach that class. So they're real important to us. And also a lot of the comments we get, we may use in, literature. If DLA asks us for input on certain things, we use feedback from people attending the classes. And the classes we do, whether they're webinar-based, distance learning type tools like this, or whether they're a classroom type thing, we always get the feedback. Okay, I'm getting a few questions here, comments. Melissa says, when or where will the recording be available? It will be available later on today. Once we're done with the class, I have to convert it. That takes about an hour or less, depending on the size and the length of the class. And then I have to upload it to the cloud, and I will send everybody an email that has a link in it to where you can download the entire recording. So that I will send that to everybody like this evening or this afternoon, later this afternoon. Yasmin says, are you able to do a sample test invoice for us? No, I'm not. But I think you have access to the tools where you could walk through that with your client yourself using the supplementary information in the booklet. I think you could do that yourself. For my Christina asked, for my clients, I have a DIBS demo log in to assist them. Do you know if we could do this for iRAPT as well? To my knowledge, we don't have a demo iRAPT thing, but you can practice the section where you practice. That may be, you may be able to do that there. Here's one. for web-based training, and on the main production website, you can practice. And here's more user manuals. Okay. Oops. Debbie asks, is the surprise #1 slide 53B available to print? What's 53B? Okay, this one? Yeah. You go to this website. Oops. I'll show you. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'll demo that. So if I go to this website and paste it in there, you can print that. You could print it, you could save it, and you could disseminate it that way. This is all the same information that's on that slide. So go to that website and utilize that resource. Any other questions or comments? Well, seeing none, I don't know if you're either overwhelmed with information and acronyms and letters and numbers and stuff like that, and DODAX and EFTs and everything else, or you're just ready to wrap it up. So that said, again, take a few minutes, fill out that the feedback form, and send it to me. And by the way, before I let you go, I got feedback from a couple of different people that the link I sent everybody with connecting to this webinar was a webinar that had already been completed. And it's almost like they were coming from a certain part of the country. A couple were from Nevada and a couple other places. Did anybody else have that kind of experience, or was it real simple connecting to the webinar? Because I had 100 people that didn't have any problems, or seemingly didn't have any problems, but I had a handful, 2 or 3 or 4 that okay, let's see. Yasmin said tried it again and it worked. Christina said it was simple and accurate. Oklahoma apparently had a problem. Once I waited till the start time, it connected. Janice says, I did twice, but the third time I connected and it worked fine. I got the same message until about 2 minutes before the webinar started. Happened to me in Ohio, worked second time. So it's almost like you had to try it a couple times. Maggie said, I had that problem, but when I kept trying. The key was not to click on the join the webinar button. I hit enter on the keyboard and you came in. Okay, well, thanks for that. Thanks for that feedback from everybody. I'll work with our people to see if it's easier. We can make it easier to connect. And again, look for the recording later on today. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. It's 12:30 here in Georgia. Have a good day, and thank you for your attention. This is Joe Bulow signing out.